The coffee shop fell silent when the slap rang out across the crowded room. Every head turned to witness a powerful CEO standing over a weary-looking single father, her fury blazing hotter than the neon signs glowing outside. But before anyone could condemn the broken man sitting there, her security chief noticed the pale scar on his forearm and realized this was no stranger. This was the man who had rescued a life years ago, the man everyone believed had vanished forever. Before we continue, if you believe compassion, redemption, and second chances can transform someone's existence, please like this video, share it with someone who desperately needs hope, leave a comment below, and subscribe to the channel Korean Nightmare Stories. The man's name was Marcus Reid, a gentle father who had mastered how to endure in a world that seldom showed kindness. Each morning, he rose before dawn in a cramped rented flat, made breakfast for his young daughter, filled her backpack, and ensured she was smiling before he stepped out into another challenging day. He was not wealthy, he was not celebrated, and he possessed no influential allies. But he carried something far more precious than fortune. He carried a spirit that refused to surrender. 5 years before, Marcus had been a talented engineer with a bright future ahead. He had aspirations of constructing a comfortable home for his family and providing his wife, Elena, the tranquil life she deserved. But everything shifted in a single night when a devastating accident claimed her life and left him alone with their little daughter, Sophie. The tragedy shattered something deep within him, but the duty of raising his child became the reason he continued forward. After the accident, Marcus lost his position because sorrow made it impossible to concentrate. Debts accumulated, friends vanished, and people who once celebrated his abilities suddenly forgot his name. He accepted whatever work he could discover. He transported deliveries, fixed broken equipment, sanitized offices after midnight, and discovered that a person could feel transparent even while standing in a packed boulevard. Still, every evening when he returned home and saw Sophie waiting by the window, his fatigue became lighter to bear. Her smile reminded him that love was not measured by prosperity or position. It was measured by the sacrifices someone was willing to make when nobody was observing. Have you ever felt invisible despite doing everything right? Drop a comment and let me know. On a drizzling afternoon, Marcus entered a modest coffee shop near the corporate district. He had just completed a temporary maintenance job and wanted to purchase a hot beverage before collecting Sophie from school. His jacket was faded, his boots were scuffed, and his hands bore the evidence of years of manual labor. At the same moment, the doors of the coffee shop swung open, and a woman walked inside, who seemed to carry her own tempest with her. Her name was Victoria Kane, the CEO of one of the most powerful technology corporations in the nation. She was renowned for her brilliance, assertiveness, and uncompromising expectations. Publications called her a visionary, rivals dreaded her strategies, and staff respected her authority. But beneath the designer attire and commanding presence was a woman carrying scars nobody could witness. Victoria had spent years constructing an empire because she believed vulnerability would ruin her. She had lost her parents when she was young and matured, learning that feelings were hazardous. She became accomplished because she never allowed herself to hesitate, never trusted anyone quickly, and never revealed the anguish hidden beneath her achievements. That afternoon, she entered the coffee shop because she was encountering an investor. Her secretary had mistakenly reserved a seat for someone else, and in the chaos, she noticed Marcus sitting at the table she believed was hers. The situation was already strained. Victoria had spent the morning managing a business emergency, and her tolerance had evaporated hours earlier. She saw only a weary stranger sitting where she needed to be. She did not see the father who worked 3 shifts. She did not see the man who battled every day to give his daughter a brighter future. Her rage took command. She accused Marcus of disregarding the reservation and humiliating her in front of significant people. The coffee shop became tense as everyone watched. Marcus tried to clarify that he had only been sitting there because a staff member directed him to the table, but his soft voice was drowned beneath her frustration. Then came the moment that stunned everyone. Victoria slapped him. The sound paralyzed the room. Marcus did not retaliate. He did not curse her. He simply looked away, holding the hurt in his eyes. Not because of the slap itself, but because for a moment he felt like the world had returned to the same position it had always forced him into. A position where people evaluated him by his appearance instead of his character. If you've ever been misjudged by your circumstances, type, "I understand," in the comments. Then the imposing man standing behind Victoria stepped forward. His name was Julian Cross, her personal security chief, and the only person in her life who knew how much suffering she carried. He had protected her for years, but he had also witnessed her make errors caused by the barriers she constructed around herself. Julian looked at Marcus's forearm, where his sleeve had shifted slightly after the incident. A long, faded scar crossed his skin. It was not an ordinary scar. Julian remembered it instantly. Years ago, before working for Victoria, Julian had been involved in a perilous accident during a fundraising event. A blaze had erupted, and while people fled, one person had charged inside to rescue trapped individuals. That person had suffered a severe injury and disappeared before anyone could properly acknowledge him. The scar on that hero's forearm had been the only thing Julian remembered. The man standing before him was that hero. Julian's expression transformed completely. The exhausted stranger in the coffee shop was not a nobody. He was the person who had once risked his own existence for others. The truth reached Victoria gradually. The anger on her face dissolved, replaced by bewilderment and regret. For the first time, she saw Marcus clearly. She saw the weariness in his eyes, the gentleness in his silence, and the strength it required to remain tender after everything he had survived. She realized she had evaluated a person without knowing his journey. Marcus left the coffee shop quietly, but the moment stayed with Victoria. That night, inside her lavish penthouse surrounded by everything wealth could purchase, she felt more hollow than ever. She remembered the way Marcus looked after being wounded. There was no malice in his eyes, only sorrow. That affected her more than fury ever could. Can one moment of cruelty change someone forever? Share your thoughts below. The next morning, Victoria searched for him. It was not simple. Marcus had no substantial online footprint, no secretary, and no influential network. He was just a hard-working father attempting to survive. Eventually, Julian found his address through old documentation connected to the accident. Victoria arrived at Marcus's small flat expecting to find someone resentful. Instead, she found a home filled with modest warmth. Sophie's artwork covered the walls. A small plant rested near the window. The furnishings were old, but everything was meticulously arranged. It was a place built not with money, but with devotion. She saw Marcus assisting his daughter with schoolwork, and she understood something she had neglected. Success was not only about reaching the summit. Sometimes the strongest people were the ones quietly bearing responsibilities nobody noticed. Victoria apologized genuinely. She did not offer justifications or hide behind her status. She admitted that she had allowed her pressure and arrogance to wound someone innocent. Marcus accepted the apology, but he also shared something that stayed with her forever. He explained that people often forget how powerful a small moment of kindness can be because they are too focused on their own battles. Those words transformed Victoria. Over the following months, she began helping Marcus rebuild his existence, but not by simply handing him money. She offered him an opportunity to return to his engineering profession. She discovered his old blueprints and realized his talent had never disappeared. It had only been buried beneath years of survival. Marcus joined a new initiative at her corporation focused on developing affordable technology for families who struggled financially. The work gave him purpose again. More importantly, it allowed him to show Sophie that losing everything did not mean life was finished. Victoria also changed. Staff who once saw her as distant began seeing a different side of her. She listened more. She treated people with consideration. She learned that being powerful did not mean standing above others. It meant using that power to elevate someone else. Have you ever witnessed someone completely change after learning the truth? Tell us your story in the comments. Years later, the coffee shop where everything happened became a symbol of a different kind of achievement. Victoria funded a community center nearby where struggling parents could receive assistance, instruction, and opportunities. On the opening day, Marcus stood beside her with Sophie, who had matured into a confident young woman. The scar on Marcus's forearm remained, but it no longer represented suffering. It represented bravery, sacrifice, and the reminder that a single act of kindness can travel through time and return when someone needs it most. The world had seen a CEO slap a single father in a coffee shop, but what it did not see at first was the beautiful transformation that followed. One person learned humility, another found a second chance, and everyone around them learned that a person's worth is never defined by their clothes, their occupation, or their circumstances. Sometimes the people we overlook are the ones carrying the greatest stories. Sometimes the people who seem broken are the ones strong enough to rescue others. And sometimes one moment of compassion can heal wounds that have been hidden for years. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and engage with this video. Your support helps these stories reach more people who need hope and kindness. Before the story ends, leave a comment saying, "Kindness always returns," if you believe a small act of goodness can change someone's entire life. Because in the end, the greatest strength a person can have is not power, wealth, or fame.